Shells Entrepreneurs Express. So raise your hand if this is your first time attending. Awesome, very good. Glad to have you. There's a bunch of you guys here for the very first time. So I'd love to hear after the ladies how you heard about the event. And good to see some faces back. Somebody, you know, who was just on Zoom. We were in Zoom. So this has been going on since 2015. Through the pandemic, we kept it going with a virtual, came back hybrid, and now we're fully live, no more hybrid. We make you come in now to enjoy coffee and conversation. So, but this event is put on by a number of organizations, CBIC, Shelter Business Innovation Council, CIC, the Community Investment Collaborative, SBDC, the Small Business Development Center, and let's see, also we are sponsored by the Dynasty UVA and Watermark Design, and Code-Based Co-working also. We're very grateful for them for providing this space for us to use. So lots of organizations come together for this event. And the way it's set up is that we have 2 speakers each month. We start with an early stage speaker. They share about their company, and they have an ask for the audience. So we actually help them solve something that might be a barrier to growth, help them go to the next level. And then after that, we have a seasoned entrepreneur that shares their crash and learn story. So stories you might not otherwise hear on their entrepreneurial journey. So it's an awesome event. My name is Hope. I don't think I introduced myself. Hope McCutcheon. I am on the board of CBIC and just really support those organizations. So we can go ahead and get started. We will start with our early stage. So this is actually pretty cool. I wanted to introduce Ahan and Sid. But Ahan, don't let his age fool you. He's very sharp, 14-year-olds. So we have a 14-year-old founder today. A little bit about him. He grew up here in Charlottesville. He's going into 9th grade at Ahan High School. So moving on into a freshman in high school. He's worked on some different projects. His main project was a game called Block Attack that he built, but this is his first company, BrokerBotics, that he started this past March. So it's a new company, and he is excited about presenting about it today. But he's worked through the ICAP program, and which is an accomplishment in and of itself, and has gotten some mentorship from some entrepreneurs here in this community. And his other hobbies and interests are biking, kung fu, tennis, working on this business, and playing video games. So just a little bit about him. And then his co-founder and CTO is his father, Sid. Sid has his bachelor's in electronics engineering in India, and he came to the States here at UVA, got his master's in computer science, and then worked at UVA for 12 years in a number of capacities in the technology space, and then started working in the local startup scene with a number of companies, Symbol, Scapos, Taste Supply, Bella, and also some companies that he founded early in his career. And he's also a published author, which you can find him on LinkedIn and connect on his book, but it's about teaching kids programming, which is pretty cool. So help me welcome Ahan and Sid.
Yeah, thank you both for the introduction. As she said, my name is Ahan. My dad's Sid, and we're here to talk about BrokerBotics. But before I get into what exactly BrokerBotics does, I'll give a little background. So both of my parents actually trade options, and about 2 years ago, my dad introduced me to options trading, and I was going to school and had like regular things to do. And he taught me how to do a trade, and he would say, have you traded today? Have you traded today? Every time I would come back from school. And I would say, no, I had no time. I had this, I had that. And eventually I just gave up. He would still ask me, did you trade? But I would just say no. And that's where this idea was really born, like have something do it for me. So we've gone through the ICAP program, as she said, and we focused on who our customer is, what they might want. And the first customer is people like my parents. They have a job and they trade options to make money on the side. Managing their returns can be a hassle because of the information that the brokerage provides. And just finding the time to make sure that trades actually go through and execute, and finding these trades to do is also something that's very time consuming, and they may not be able to do that. And the second group is actually, we have a few clients, friends and family. It's like him. So he originally invested with the market, he traded stocks, but he never really heard about options, and maybe he thought they were just for gambling, or there was no way to make money with a lower risk without 10xing, 20xing on a really high risk option. But we eventually got him into it with this company, BrokerBotics, and he's one of our clients now, and he does options with that. So our solution, you could say, is options trading for dummies. We basically get you into options trading, whether it's simple trades, but there's not really a need to understand all the technicals that all the professional options traders use. And we only really support lower risk strategies. And we want to make our platform really simple to use. So 3 steps: pick your stocks, pick your strategy, and pick your risk or return. So, like I said, 3 steps: picking your stocks. Right now, our strategy is a net credit put that's weekly, and we target around a 0.5 to 1% return on your portfolio each week. And right now, our strategy has been going since February of this year all the way up until now. And our clients, it's been running on their portfolio as well for the past 2-3 months, and it's been working really well, and we have no reported loss actually. And just to clarify, we aren't a brokerage, we just connect to the brokerage. So it's basically something placing trades on your behalf at low risk, and we currently support a brokerage called TradeGear. And we plan to expand to more once we get their API, but yeah, passing it over to my dad.
So when Ahan's automation first started working on my portfolio, he decided that he needs to start charging me for it because he wants an iPhone and is not happy being part of this Android family. And so once he started charging me, is that when we realized that this could be a business that we could, and our friends and family auditors said we should charge for. So that's when we started researching how big is the market for options trading. And it turns out that there's more than 40 million trades happening every single day worth more than $20 million. So that makes options trading a $5 trillion market. And then we started looking for, does anyone else do this? And it turns out no one else does this. And so it doesn't be a hard problem to solve. And here I have a guy who solved this hard problem and it's working on real money. So let's start a business and go for it. And what's happening in the options market is people are trading options more and more, and with shorter terms. So daily options, weekly options, which makes it that people have to watch the market all the time. And then we started looking deeper and we found that a lot of the growth in the options market is coming from retail investors, basically like us. And you can see the chart, right? As soon as the pandemic happens, everybody, like all the retail traders started trading. I initially assumed that a lot of the options trades were coming from these options funds, but that wasn't true. It was all coming from retail investors. So yeah, retail investors make up 70% of the $5 trillion market. And then based on what he said, we also have these people who tried options sometimes or failed or don't have the time. And so we expect that our BrokerBotics will open up the options market to more than just options traders. So last month we went to this conference, and at the conference, Option Alpha, which is sort of like what we do, but not exactly, presented all the successful strategies that people have been using, and it turns out that those are the ones that they pick. So to start with, BrokerBotics will support just the successful strategies that people have used to make money from options. And this is something for indicators if I won't go through, but you can ask us after. And so our competitors. So we looked at our competitors and we only found 2, Option Alpha and Option Pro 1. And both of them were really complex and designed for professional options. Even though we said They do simple automation, they were pretty complex. Not with us, where it's like, they click, go, and making money.
Yeah, so thank you for that. And the way that we plan to make money is based on these automated trades that we're placing. At the end of the month, we take 15% of the profit that you make. And one of the good things I would say is if you don't make any money that month, then there's no charge at all. And our revenue projections on 50,000 customers with an average of $10,000 per account is $15 million annual revenue. And all that only makes up 0.002% of the options market. And moving on to customer acquisition, like I said, we went through the ICAP program, so we learned about who we want to target. But mainly the way we've been getting our clients is friends and family, word of mouth, but we plan on expanding to our search engine optimization. So if you look up options trading on Google, we come up. Paid advertisement, we plan on doing brokerage deals, like he said, Options Alpha, one of our somewhat competition. They have a deal with Trader where essentially if you use Option Alpha, the commission on options is waived. So right now, I believe it's 35 cents per leg on the trade that you make of options. But if you use Options Alpha, that goes down. And we don't have much time, but these are just kind of our milestones. We plan on year after year expanding to different brokerages, increasing the number of strategies overall, making our platform easier to use for the customer. And yeah, our ask for CE2, we actually have two. The first one is based on the information that I've given you about what this does and your understanding, do you think that 15% of the profits made per month and no charge if there's no profit? I would like to hear your opinion. Like, do you think that's a fair pricing scale, or is there anything that you would like to say?
All right, so you wanna restate your ask? So this is his, did you just say one?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, you can say it.
So our first ask is the pricing that we have, the 15% of the profits per month fair? I would just like to hear your opinion on that.
Awesome, so we'll start over here, and then can we have this help on the other side? Shira?
So what is your competition? You said there was two other automated solutions. What do they charge?
Yeah, options were one, it wasn't clear what they charge at all. And with Option Alpha, the pricing depends on which brokerage you use with them. It's not simple pricing. It is less than us, but it's not easy to figure out what they charge.
In terms of commission, 15% is really large for most options trading. Do you see that being an issue for customer acquisition? I personally think that 15% might be a little high.
Yeah, like that's what we're here for. We want to hear what you have to say. And if 15% seems high to a lot of people, then we might consider moving that down, or maybe having some sort of tier where you do this, get this, and the higher tier, the more percent. But yeah, we just want to know what you have to say.
We did also think about putting a monthly cap on it, like 15% cap. That's something, but we weren't sure if we should, because if someone from the portfolio, they get $200,000 from us, and they pay us the $30,000.
I think the understanding was that the 15% was 15% of the profit, not 15% of the trade amount. So when you say it's high, no, that's not high at all. It's just based on the trade amount. So your price then is very reasonable to me. I would worry more about eventual competition. And getting the word out is probably gonna be the biggest problem, and also you're short on track record at this point in time.
This isn't directly related to your question about the right amount to charge, but I think it does relate. Have you run your revenue projections with different types of market conditions using, say, hypotheticals from previous market conditions?
So recently, like the stock market has taken a decent hit. And a lot of the things, like a lot of our positions that we have run, they're pretty far out of the money. So even in a substantial drop, a lot of our positions were fine and we didn't really have to worry. So I would sort of say yes, but
And those strategies that you can choose with us are designed to be lower risk regardless of market condition. I mean, we don't pick that for you, but we only support the limited set of strategies, all of which are designed to bench against very large swings in the market. So yes, if there was something like a Black Monday where the entire market collapsed like 30%, then yes, our position will lose money. But in general, over the last 6 months that we've been running our strategy, even the stocks that went down or up, they worked throughout all of it. And the same strategies, my wife and I have been using for the last 3 years, and those of them are really popular strategies that people use all the time. So generally, they know what the risk profile of the strategy is, and work regardless of market conditions.
It might be helpful for your revenue projections and for, other investors in your company to see like the hypotheticals of how your strategy and how the company as a whole would have performed, say, in like the 2008 financial crisis or things like that, since, the past 3 years, as somebody else mentioned, it's not a super long track record to when you're considering different market conditions, even if it is low risk.
Thank you. 15% is fine, but profit. I'm in the same profession. People you want to talk to about expanding your client base. I do worry a couple of things. One is make sure you protect this strategy like as best you can, because if it works, people replicate it, and if you replicate it, then it stops working. It's kind of the way this stuff works. Two is, and I don't know how far you got into this, but like our world is compliance and regulatory massively. So I don't even know if you're allowed to charge 15% of profits only. Like if there's not, like hedge funds have one set strategy, mutual funds have a different set strategy for pricing. We have a different set of strategy for pricing. Just got to be really, really thoughtful that you don't draw attention to yourself and then someone's coming in and saying, you can't do this. So you may have already done all that. I'm just saying, just be careful.
We are kind of working through that right now, so we have lawyers who are helping us work through that. And the thing that we've worked out with them is that we're not a hedge fund, we're not advising people. It's automating whatever we want to do. Our fees are for automation, not for trades. You're picking your stocks, you're picking your strategy, you're picking like how much risk you want to take. So our charge is for basically automating those things for you. All right, and our second ask is, and should someone raise money? So we'll be revenue positive starting at this fund. Is it a good time now to start raising money, or should we wait until much better at the people time?
Great presentation. Thank you both. Like Daniel said in the back, very compliance heavy, right? SEC regulates this, and anyone who wants to trade options has to get approval from the SEC, so you got to go through that process. And then raising money, you have to have something protectable, something proprietary for people to want to invest in, because that's how it gains value. They're gonna want to invest in something that eventually you can sell. I don't know how much of a dividend play or a cash flow play this would be for an investor. So I think you have to really focus on what it is that you're creating that can be protectable, and then take that and go out into the marketplace and say, we have something very unique, something other people can't replicate. And if you invest in this, it's gonna grow in value by, X amount. So that would be the best time to raise the money.
If I have, I'm gonna try and find a space. Let's see. Okay, wherever I go, I think it's gonna echo. If I have any strategy about anything that gets a return of 30% a year, I'm not sharing it with anybody. I'm just gonna keep quiet, because I'm doubling my money every 2 years. And if somehow someone finds out about it, I'm gonna try to kill them, frankly. And just keep it to myself and keep doing that 30% per year. If you can really do that, I can't imagine why you'd let anybody else know.
Well, that's an interesting point.
What edit that?
Yeah, and the reason some of the strategies work or will work is because it requires that kind of volume on the options market. Right now, the biggest volume on the options market is limited to a few small names and stocks. And over a period of time, it is increasing. Like if you saw the stock portfolio that was in a slide and you noticed the stocks on there, those you would, if you're an options trader, you would know that those are the ones which, yes, I know they have a huge options volume. But also means that you're highly volatile. So over the last few weeks, what we started doing is started adding a bigger portfolio of stocks to it. Like last week, we started adding Caterpillar, Target, those kinds of things to our personal portfolio to see, can we influence market makers to actually let us trade like save our pennies out of more stable stocks than, let's say, Nvidia or Tesla. And so to make this kind of money on scale requires that the market moves with you. And that has happened. So the last 4 years, every year has been a record of options trading, and it's been expanding to a broader market of stocks. And so yes, if we could keep it to ourselves, we would, which would be nice, yes, but we do need everyone to learn these kinds of strategies for it to work.
We have time for one more. Does anyone have insight on the second question? All right. Can you convey how they can get in touch with you if they have any more thoughts or questions or just want to connect?
Yeah, sure. So you can just email me at ahan@brokerbotics.com or info@brokerbotics.com. We have a website. You can just click the contact us on there, and that's how you can reach us.
That sort of sums up what we don't want you to sit and watch the market. We want you to enjoy life while the market takes care of the market.
Awesome. Well, give it a hand.
Thank you.
All right. Appreciate it. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. That was incredible. Very well spoken. 14, I'm impressed. That's not what I was doing at 14. I'll just say that. So I would now like to introduce our Crash and Learn speaker, not Crash and Burn, Crash and Learn. But a little bit about Dan Myers. He grew up in the Richmond area. Went to Virginia Tech, so we won't fault him for that because he's really compensated in some other ways in industrial design and business. But went on to George Mason, got his MBA in business and marketing strategy. From there, really started his career in products design, consulting. He was an adjunct professor at George Washington University, and then just really jumped into the startup world. He was previously a co-founder and CEO of Valid, which was acquired in 2015. And that company enabled dynamic pricing for e-commerce retailers. He was also previously the founding director of Runway, acquired in 2017. And that served as an innovation hub in San Francisco, where he led startup incubation yielding more than 50 exits in 5 years. and provided innovation services for global 500 companies. He also has designed and managed nationally recognized startup accelerator programs such as Lighthouse Labs RBA, which you guys may be familiar with, and supported many Fortune 100 companies to identify, engage, and acquire startups and help build one of the largest startup competitions in the world, with finalists pitching to Sir Richard Branson. So he currently serves Virginia startups as a mentor at the SBDC's ICAP program, and I believe is going to begin to support these two, which you just heard from. And is co-founder and managing director of Fortified Ventures, a Silicon Valley-based VC firm investing in seed to Series A companies that enable people to thrive. Fun fact is he's a curler, random fact, and just very interesting, very fun to listen to. So I'm really excited for you to hear about the entrepreneurial journey thus far of Dan Myers.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for having me. I got my wires crossed just a little bit on the crash and learn part, as opposed to just stories and lessons learned from. So I was kind of thinking on the fire, what crash stories do I have? But I have a couple just to kind of think of. One thing that I've noticed with founders, and for some reason I didn't necessarily have in my fear factor, was just reaching out to people. For whatever reason, I was happy to be the one to go find the CEO of a Fortune 100 company and just be like, all right, how do I get in front of this person? I'm gonna reach out, I'm gonna go find their executive assistant, and I'm just gonna get an intro. For whatever reason, that just never scared me. So a lesson learned is just go meet people. Go on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is an incredible tool that didn't necessarily exist when I was starting to do this. You can find exactly the profile of who you're looking for. Go reach out to them. Really, what's the worst that can happen? In my case, the worst that can happen is they respond pretty immediately and say, "Oh my gosh, we'd love to meet you. I'm the founder and CEO of a Fortune 100 company. What are you doing this week? Let's meet." I had this person's book sitting on my desk. I never read it. I was so unprepared walking into this meeting. I brought the book thinking, oh, they didn't sign it. So what's your favorite part? Yeah, I haven't read it. You haven't read my book? What are you doing in my office right now? Why are you sitting here? I was completely embarrassed. But we got through it. It actually became a great story of what became a good friendship. But I was just thinking through oh God, yeah, reach out to people. What can go wrong with that? Something can go wrong, but again, in the grand scheme of things, not the worst in the world. I feel like another. Thank you for the blessing that I can share whatever I thought. I think another thing that I always get from people was, oh, how did you get into venture capitalism? How did that become to be? How did you become an investor? I was born in Richmond. Family wasn't wealthy. Growing up at a time started Virginia, this code building, CIT, whatever, FIPC, whatever they're called now, that didn't exist in Virginia. There's not support for founders here. I didn't know what a venture capitalist was, so just thinking through a journey, when you see that little map or the meme that goes around, you're like, oh, your journey is this crazy squiggle. That's exactly what my life was. I don't know, based on personal experience, that's what your life is gonna be like. So there's no set path. I feel like for me, the thing was always keeping my options open, keeping to think about what was interesting, what's the future, and I literally stumbled into this work. But to think of ooh, crashes, what happened wrong, think through, what were some of my worst investments that I've made? Where did I go terribly wrong in evaluating? A couple that came to mind, I remember evaluating a business that was designed kind of the smart call box, if you will. If you've lived in an apartment or a condo building, or even getting into one of these secure buildings, the call box. They're like, this is a huge opportunity, Bluetooth technology, NFC technology, we're gonna have delivery drivers and you can let them in, you can, have special keys that will disappear for, if you have someone who cleans your house, smart clocks, this is a revolution. It was incredible technology, incredible. And I got overwhelmed by that technology. I completely forgot, let me research the market. Let me see what I think the future is gonna hold. Obsessed with this cool technology. So I was like, oh, this solves so many problems. I didn't do any other research, and that was just like a terrible thought. Got really interested in subscription boxes for makeup, specifically for people of color, specifically women of color, not me. Again, really super interested in the model, interested in all of the hype that I think has been occurring and continues to occur around makeup. Super excited about the founder. Didn't do a lot of due diligence on okay, how bad of a business is subscription boxes? How much money can you actually lose per box every single time? How hard is this business? As compelling as the founder is, does that overcome the challenges of supply chain and logistics? No, it doesn't. That went really poorly. That also brought me to kind of lessons learned. When looking at your businesses that you're building or businesses that you might be investing in even, but I want to speak to founders especially, figure out what is the most singular important thing for your business. And there might be two. So for instance, if we take subscription boxes for makeup, the supply chain is a huge part of that. What's your ability to get product in? What's your ability to ship product? If you're building that business, you better have a strength in it. And I was stupid enough that I just didn't really ask the question. But then also on that same business too, you gotta have customers. And every business has to have customers. Excited for BrokerBotics and your journey through customer acquisitions, the thing that you all are talking about. You gotta be able to acquire customers. So there might be some marketing involved. So again, if you're looking at the business of subscription boxes direct to consumer, two things you probably need: supply chain logistics expertise, marketing expertise. Those two don't exist, it doesn't work. But that sounds simple, but I find that it's not. The number of founders that I speak with that do not know the number one important thing that's going to break their business is shocking. So that would be a lesson learned that I would pass along. I remember building a business around, well, specifically we were doing services for corporate America. So we were talking to, we were selling an enterprise product. And at the time I wanted to charge, I wanted to charge $200,000 for what we were selling. And I was giving advice, all these vendors are asking me about pricing, I was getting all of this advice. And finally someone said, "Are you stupid?" Yes, I think I proved the point that yes, I am. Can you price out just how much, what's the, if they were going to do this on their own, how much would it cost them? And what's the value of the problem that you're solving for them? It's all right, I think it's million too. So $200,000 sounds like a really great deal. They're gonna say yes. And they're like, no. Put it in million and go in and see what happens. They said yes. And that was an incredible moment that I never felt was gonna come, my first $1 million sale. But the advice I would have out to you, where I could have crashed on that, is don't be scared of big numbers. I think especially when you're starting early, big numbers can sound really scary. You have this sort of fear factor, am I really able to sell that? Have this sort of imposter syndrome. But big numbers are just big numbers. People talk about, literally the other day we closed on a $20 million acquisition. $20 million, really not that big of a number. me, $1 million sounded like too big of a number, and my advice is don't be scared of numbers. A couple other things that just were coming to my mind and thinking about, specifically talking to founders, something that I find myself repeating over and over lately is be a scientist. And like I approach a lot of the work that I'm doing as an industrial designer, as a product designer, very creative mindset. So I'm kind of always looking for like, what's the really non-traditional route to this? But somewhere in there, I guess I enjoyed science class. So founders, my advice is be scientists. And what I mean by that is come up with a hypothesis, ideally time bounded for yourself, and then go test it. Literally be a scientist. The advantages that are found in that, one, you form a conviction for what you think the future looks like. And that's what I do every day, is I have theories about what the future looks like across all different industries. As a founder, find that conviction for yourself and then go test it, but ideally time bound it. A lot of things I see, especially for crash and burn in Virginia, places like Charlottesville, it's not that expensive. Like you can coast by, you can build a business for yourself and earn a living and be just fine. But if you're building a venture-backed business or a business that you hope is going to be venture-backed, there's a timeline that you have to move at. And if you don't time bound yourself to say, okay, I've got to move quickly and I've got to prove out something quickly, you'll just continue to go test until you find the answer that you want to hear, not the actual market answer. So put a time bound on what you're trying to prove so you can move on to the next thing and not continue to grind on the same thing that's not maybe working as fast as you want it to, or especially not as fast as I want it to. Another thing really right off of that, I was curious, who knows like the venture capital business? Just raise hands. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe? Okay. Apologies for everything else. Who's a founder? Okay, a lot of the, wow, okay, this is a perfect example. For the founders in the room who are not familiar, not for people who are familiar with the venture capital business, for founders in the room, what's my motivation as an investor? You're gonna pitch me your business. What's my motivation? Returns, investment, okay, anybody else? Okay, that's all I care about, it's not great, that's it. When do I care about money? Someone said something? All the time, it's one? I feel like there's a female voice over here. 2, 3 years? Yeah, the timing of when I get returns becomes really important to venture capitalists. I was actually gonna ask Ahan this, of like, and Mark, probably, you can have a second voice. Like, for what you're doing right now, you kind of proven out really low risk, good returns. How long maybe till I double my money?
2, 3 years.
2, 3 years. Mark, for your business, how long till I double my money? Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, Rob. We just met. So.
In your business.
Sorry, no, your business. How soon do I double my money? Yeah, so both run relatively quite risk-free businesses for investment. So if I'm sitting on dollars and thinking about, I want those venture returns, I'm weighing risk versus reward, I can take incredibly low risk options to invest my dollars, and I can double my money in 2 to 3 years. So why would I take the extreme risk on what you're building as a founder? Super high risk, right? The numbers are like 10% chance that you actually make it. Why would I take extreme risk on what you're building with those investment dollars to double, triple, less risky options that exist for me and for dollars. So the lesson learned for me there and hopefully pass on to you is speed matters. And again, that's why I talk about like time bound your experiments, because the speed really matters. I want to be a little mindful of where we are in time, but a couple other things that are important to me, and I think should be important to everyone here. As a founder, maybe crash and burn, but like, oh, we're gonna go a little dark here, so I apologize. Find your community, especially as founders, especially if you're CEOs or your CTOs, if you're in leadership. Find your community. This is a great example of hope and spirit of bigness. But also find your like, hey, all right, we're CEOs, we go to dinner, every other week and have pizza and beers and just, shoot each other what's going on in our brains and like kind of get it off. The extent of that is like, hey, find therapy. Therapy's great. Encourage that for every founder. What hasn't happened, I don't think, in Virginia, or at least especially in Richmond or Charlottesville, I haven't had a founder suicide. So like, I've experienced that in Silicon Valley, going to avoid that here. So find community, find people that you can turn to with, on a regular basis, who have your back, who can listen to you, and find therapy. Before we really have like the dark crash and burn, because it's hard. Being founders is really hard. Oh, I have another crash and burn one, last one. Raising a venture capital fund is just like being a founder. Like I am a founder of this firm. The journey is exactly the same as being a founder. I have a product that I'm building and trying to sell. I'm painting a vision for the future. My vision for the future is seed Series A companies are going to return exponential dollars. I have investors. We call those LPs. So I have to sell that vision to them, and I have to raise dollars from them in order to invest along my own thesis. And I have to pitch that, and I have to get them on board. Learned a little too late of like, oh right, there's a group of investors that match what you're doing, and there's a group of investors that you have no business talking to because they have no interest in what you're doing. It's been a year pitching to investors that were the wrong investors that didn't match what we were doing. And it just didn't I kind of went down the path of like, okay, it's another no. That's all right. It's fine. It's fine. Until I finally, someone helped me snap out of it, someone helped me see, and I was able to really look at the market of investors. And this is what I encourage for, again, all founders. You're pitching, you have a product that you're building, and you do customer discovery, you have a customer market. When you're selling to investors and pitching to investors, you also have a product. It's a financial product. The shares of your company are a financial product that you're selling. So there's a market of investors for that. So go do customer discovery on the market of investors. And I spent a lot of time selling to investors that were the exact wrong opposite. And as soon as I was able to make that switch, things worked out a little bit better. But yeah, just spending way too long doing the wrong thing and thinking you can get through it. I don't think I have any other things. I'm happy to take questions. The only last thing that I think was on my brain is the room is filled with founders. How many of founders have taken venture capital dollars? Just two. How many founders are interested in pitching venture capital investors? How many are interested in raising other funding, like private equity funding, debt funding? And how many founders are just like, nah, I don't need funding, we're good? I would think that number would have been higher. Based off of nobody raising their hand saying that they would raise money, so I don't know, maybe your business is, I don't know what you're doing. If you're not producing revenue and you don't want to raise dollars, I'm intrigued. Definitely want to learn more. But the last point I was going to make, especially from the perspective of an investor, is not just because you build a good business doesn't mean would you get acquired? Like you would get acquired for the amount of revenue or whatever. There's a lot of different reasons companies get acquired. And so just thinking through like what is the asset that your company really has, again, like what's that most important thing? So for them, and for other businesses, like it might be the dollar value of the revenue. It might be the talent. I don't know, you might want to acquire 14-year-old talent that's building algorithms. Talent, there's a lot of acqui-hires is what we call that. It might just be for the customers, even if there's no revenue, somebody might get acquired for the customers, even though the business is poor. They have millions of customers to acquire. So just think through like what is the asset? If someone's buying something, it doesn't necessarily have to be a good business to be acquired. And again, not all good businesses get acquired. Thank you. I hope you learned something, and I'm happy to be self-deprecating. If there are questions, feel free.
Yeah, let's open up to Q&A instead of.
Trying to get the right distance this time. On your last point about reasons for acquisitions, a perfect example of doing it is Charles Schwab acquired TD Waterhouse. And while signs, they did it just because they wanted the customer base. They're doing a reduction in force as we speak. There's a person whose name you will know well, Tom Perkins, Klein Perkins, and I watched an interview from him once, and he made some good points. Now different venture capitalists operate in different ways, but they're trying to set up as more like a long-term relationship, like not like here's the money, come back when you're rich. It's more like, well, we're going to build a relationship with you because we know we're going to give you this money at the start, but sooner or later something's going to go wrong and you're going to need more money. And at that point, the relationship is going to be the basis for which we give you more money. So on both sides, you should take that to heart, whether you're the founder yourself or whether you're the venture capitalist. On both sides, I think we should do that.
Yeah, that's a great point. I just invested in a founder who I had previously invested in as well. His first startup crashed and burned. And now he's on the second, third. I actually don't even know which number we're on that he's building. But just reinvested in. I think that's a great point. But I'm reinvesting because I believe in him as a founder. I like the business that they're building. The technology is incredible. Now that I've learned what I'm assessing, right? So for me, it's talent, it's market, it's tech. It's the demand side and the customer side as well. But great points in terms of how important the relationship is.
Hi, my name is Richard, and I like your point about doing customer discovery for your investors. And so my question is, what are some tips or what techniques did you find most useful in doing that with your investors or your analysts?
That's great. So for LPs, well, one thing that I hate about this industry that I stumbled myself into, I actually hate how relationship driven it is. I hate that, particularly for a founder to reach me in a way that I can actually hear. I hate that it really takes knowing someone who knows me. I hate that it takes a warm intro. I just do. I can't say that I don't have the solution yet. I like to think that I'm working on it. But my email, I mean, just for the interview, like, I am guaranteed I will have at least 50 cold outreach pitches in my email today, without question, but at least 50. And I just can't possibly look at all those. I hate that it takes a warm intro to get through those. On the LP side, it's a little bit different, but again, there is kind of a network of, hey, there are other fund managers like me who have to do the same thing. So we all talk, right? Just like founders all talk about their investors. We as fund managers all talk. I do extensive research on, so for me, in our fund, we really went after institutional investors. We do not have any private individual investors. So for us, we're doing a lot of research on their websites about what are their missions, what are their their values? What have they invested in? Who are other funds that they've invested in? How do we align with that? And so that's where, you know, I kind of went off track of like, ooh, I was finding mission alignment that I thought existed, but in reality didn't exist. So, you know, for instance, I'm like, oh, yeah, we love to invest in you. Our smallest check is 100 million. That's like the entire size of my fund. Like, you know, like, yeah, we want to write you $100 million check, and we want that to be 10% of your fund. They want to write $100 million into $1 billion fund. That's not what I was doing. And that'd be great, but now I have to go find a whole bunch of other people who are willing to write $100 million. But to your point, talking with other fund managers about LPs, getting more referrals literally to LPs as well, but doing the research on what is the mission and vision that they have, so that I can speak directly to that and make sure that there is alignment. My recommendation to founders on the same question is do outreach before you're raising, when you have just like the bloody sketch of what your raise might look like hey, we're raising. I was like, hey, in January, we're thinking about doing a $2 million raise, with a 15% discount. Here's where we think our revenue is going to be, or here's what our business kind of looks like around that time. We're thinking about doing this. Does that sound like something that you would even like, would that whet your appetite? We operate. Hopefully you've already established, right? Like, okay, let's take fintech. Hopefully you've already established, hey, we're in fintech. You're talking to an investor who likes fintech. So you can start to like market test the terms before you go out and raise. You'd be surprised by like the amount of feedback. Plus then you're asking for advice. You're not asking for money, which we always love. So you start to build that relationship of like, oh, here's a founder who's actually thinking in advance, as opposed to I need money tomorrow. Do you want to take advantage of this? Like, I promise you I'm a great founder. I just need money tomorrow, and I didn't run my business in the ground, and nobody wants to give us, customer dollars. But like, we're a great investment, even though we run out of cash in 10 days. Right?
Just trying to move fast. No, that was helpful. Thank you.
Hi, sounds like you did it for a couple times, so I'm curious, what does it take for you to sell your company?
Oof. Well, for me, I'm gonna speak on both my experience and the experience of others. So I spoke about I like options a lot, not options trading and learning, but I like to understand what are the market options. So if you're a founder and you're thinking, I totally read this, oh, Google's gonna buy us. But that's like our one option. That's our only option. If you're like, ooh, I have an exit potential. This one company is going to buy it. There's not a lot of other companies that kind of look like that. Like our assets would be valuable for this one company. That's our only exit path. For me on the investment side, and really for you as a founder, I think that's terrible. I want you to have, 10s, 20s, 50 companies that could potentially buy you for multiple reasons. So I like to have the optionality of that. Like, if I have a vision for the future, let's go multiverse here. Like, what's the 50 different amalgamations of what that could turn into? Because it's not likely to go down the first main path. So what's option B, C, D, all the way to G? So what does it take to sell the company? Really, again, understanding what's the value of the asset that you have to the organization that would be looking to buy it. Second is bridging those connections. Usually that can start in the form of like building a pilot customer relationship and building up there to become a vendor to the point where like it just makes sense for you to buy us rather than just keep paying us revenue. That's my thesis for a long time, particularly for the incubator that I built in San Francisco, was not built around investment dollars at all. To me, dollars are a tool. They're a resource to accomplish something. Everybody's like, oh, we just need investment dollars. great, to do what? Like, what's the thing that you actually need? Is it talent? Is it technology that you need built? Like, these are things that dollars buy. So my thesis was, hey, like, dollars is just a tool. What actually will drive exits? What will actually drive company value? And for me, that thesis was, let me engineer as many collisions as possible between corporate America and startups. So as many collisions as possible. So that means for me, that meant building a space where both founders and corporate innovators and CEOs want to come and feel safe to meet each other and talk about their visions of the future and start to build relationships. So as many times as I can introduce founders to CEOs, as long as I focus all my time on that, an acquisition will happen. That was my thesis. It ended up working. But that's, to answer your question too, I think that's where it comes in. As a founder, meet as many CEOs that you think would acquire you at some point in the future based off of the asset that you're building. And also get their read on, particularly if you're going to sell to an enterprise. Understanding, again, customer discovery, understanding what is their problems. Like, Google is not great at everything. They're terrible at a lot of things. What problems do they have? What problems do they, I love Google, if this is being recorded, just to be clear. What problems do they have, but also what problems are valuable to them, ideally like 5 years into the future. Because we're not selling to them now, we're probably not ready to sell to them now. But we want to build ourselves up to 5 years from now with it, where they are going to say, oof, that's going to be a problem for ours. And it's going to be a valuable problem for ours. Yet companies have all sorts of problems, not all those problems are valuable to that company specifically. And then the last thing I'll say on that is, again, this is where, if we're talking about 5 years in the future, we're not going to predict the future, but we're going to come up with a thesis for like, hey, I think that this is what the future looks like in 5 years. I think that this is what my company looks like in 5 years based on projections and estimates. And I think that this is going to be valuable to you. That's where some of the trick comes in, because then you can say, if you start to build those relationships, what's their vision of what the future looks like in 5 years? And does it match or not? And the more times that you can ask that question, especially to potential acquirers, of like, hey, what's your vision for the future? I'm building in this space. You operate in this space. What do you think the world looks like in 5 years? If it doesn't match over and over and over again, that's how you maybe my vision of reality is off. Like, what's the market? What's the data that I'm basing this vision of the future on? And what's the data that everybody else seems to be basing a vision for the future on? And am I just reading something different? Am I stupid? Is everybody else wrong? Kind of make a judgment call, but again, it's all about data collection and information collection from someone else's perspective.
Dan, thank you so much. How can people get in touch with you and not be lost in your 15 minutes?
Yeah. LinkedIn's actually a pretty good way. If you shoot me a note on LinkedIn, for whatever reason, it's a little slightly less jumbled, it sorts a little bit better. So reach out on LinkedIn, and that way also I can make sure you get to the right inbox. In Virginia, I might be making my first investment in Virginia, but generally in Virginia, I'm very clear that I'm a mentor of this program called ICAP. It's sponsored and brought to you by the Small Business Development Center. So your Charlottesville office, make sure that you go see them because they are a huge wealth of resources. But I serve as a mentor to Virginia startups and Virginia founders. That is for free. It's a program in partnership again by the Small Business Development Centers. So there's no charge, there's no like hidden fee. Literally, it's to make sure founders have the support that they need. That wasn't there for me
Very good. And when I messaged you, they were incredibly responsive, so.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. All right, well, Ian, thank you so much for. So that's actually right on the flight, it's the topic that pulls it off. Awesome, well, as we wrap up, we're gonna move into announcements. How this works is you can share if there's any upcoming events that you'd like the room to know about, or if your company is hiring. So those are the two things that we do announcements for. We first give the floor to our partner organizations. So we will start with Hannah with CIC.
Hi everyone, this is rather unexciting because I don't have any announcements, so I'm just going to share a little bit about CIC. There are a lot of new faces this morning, which is great. I am the operations coordinator at CIC. I've been there for close to 2 years, got connected with them after doing the entrepreneur workshop in spring of 2019 when I was running my business, and kind of fell in love with the organization. So we are a nonprofit that helps small businesses and entrepreneurs. We do that primarily through mentoring, financing, and education. And as I mentioned, the Entrepreneur Workshop is one of our main offerings. It's 16 weeks, twice per year. Gives a pretty comprehensive overview, I'm not sure overview is the right word, of how to run your business. And applications have closed for the fall semester, but they'll be opening again, I believe October 30th for the spring. So if you are interested in that at all, or you know someone who might be interested, please don't hesitate to check out our website or reach out. My email is hannah@cscbuild.org, and I have a broken record saying this, but I'm pretty sure I don't have the business cards. What's new? So either you can remember that email address or come back afterwards and I'll write it down. Let's see, we also have a financial management program. We do mentorship. We have a small co-working space, most affordable in town, and it's pretty cool because you get to work with people like me and Shira, so not at all biased there. I think that's pretty much the overview for us. We work with the Small Business Development Center, so Shira will give the overview there. And most of you did register today, so well done. I think we do have a glitch in the system, or a few people who registered, it didn't show up, so sorry about that. If you did not register or you're a repeat offender, we are definitely not keeping tally marks of you, and I'm not gonna call out your names at the end of this. But if you remember to register prior to these events, then great, that just helps us keep track of people. So yeah, thanks for being here. Feel free to come back at the end and talk with us.
Hello, I'm Shira Goldine. I'm the events coordinator with the Central Virginia Small Business Development Center, or CVSBDC. I recognize most of the people in the room, but in case anyone doesn't know about SBDC, it is a national network, and then within that, we've got a statewide network in Virginia that offers programs like ICAP that Dan's one of our mentors for. So that's the Innovation Commercialization Assistance Program. If that sounds interesting to you, which it should, I can reach out to our office to get connected, and we also have access to all sorts of other programs and resources. So just to list some examples, we have the International Business Development Program. If you are already utilizing international opportunities, importing, exporting, or if you're interested in it, we have all sorts of resources and tools that can help with that, and industry experts. There's also a craft beverage assistance program. So who likes beer and who wants to make more beer? And all sorts of other things that I'm not going to remember right now. And then through our network, we have some incredible industry research tools, market research, and we have access to all of these for free. So research tools that anyone can access, but it can cost you thousands of dollars to run a report that we can get for free. All you need to do is come and ask us. So it's an incredible depth of resources available, and the word resources just lost meaning to me. We also don't have too terribly much happening right now. We usually slow down in the summer, so I don't have tons and tons of events to talk about like I do some months. I do feel like there's something Rebecca mentioned before going on vacation, and I didn't write it down, so we're just not going to tell her. But I am going to be up at the back. Our website is cvsbdc.org. Good luck with that. I do have business cards, and I think I'm going to start bringing Hannah's as well, just to cover bases. So if you have any questions or want to get connected, with our business advisors or access any of the tools that we have, give us a call.
I forgot one quick thing. So it's very unusual that we're both not like drowning in work. So I think being up here, we're like, I feel like we must have forgotten something, but that's actually a good thing. So just real quick, we are looking for, CIC is looking for an intern. I doubt anyone here would be trying to take that position, but if you know someone who's interested, we're looking for an operations and finance analyst. That's someone to help with our loan application process, some administrative tasks. It's a very fancy title, I feel like we wouldn't want to have that. So if you know anyone at all who might want to take that role, please have them reach out. Basically looking for someone to start as soon as possible.
Hi, I'm Amanda Wiskowski. I'm the Deputy Director of the Charlottesville Business Innovation Council. We're a membership-based organization with the aim to accelerate innovation and entrepreneurship in our region, but you don't have to be a member to benefit. We have a few monthly events. We're at one of them now that we co-host with CSC and SBDC. And another one of our monthly events is Tech on Tap. It's going to be on the second Tuesday, usually hosted at the Cafeteria. So if you're more of an evening person, join us at that. If you're a morning person, join us here on the third Tuesday. If you're both into both. Coming up in September, we have a new event, the Charlottesville Investing Forum Women on the Rise. That's going to be Thursday, September 28th. And hosted by McGuire Woods at the top of their 323 building. This is hosted by CBIC along with the Charlottesville Angel Network and Sandbox and McGuire Woods. So if you want to hear pitches from inspiring female entrepreneurs, this is a great event for seasoned angel investors as well as aspiring investors, private equity professionals, and philanthropists. And looking far ahead, in November, we are preparing for our tech tour, which is an event that brings middle school and high school age students to different tech organizations to learn about what goes on there. So if you or your company is interested in being on the tech tour and hosting some students, please reach out to me. I do have business cards today, and that tech tour is funded in part by our golf tournament, which we have postponed from August heat into the November cooler weather. So that tournament is in November 6th, and we'll have a date announced for the tech tour shortly. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'll open up the floor to you guys. Does anybody have any events you'd like people to know about or your organization is hiring? And just speak up if you louder. Yeah. A software engineer and what? React Native engineer. React Native developer and software engineer. So what's your name? What is it? Morgan? Go see Morgan. Another young entrepreneur I heard that you also have sold. Who else? Go ahead.
Take a break from work and come dance with us. Our next event is this Friday at Work Hotel from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. We're doing a silent disco, which is a 3-channel dance party. Everybody gets a pair of headphones where you can choose between 3 different music channels as well as adjust your volume and have a good time.
Awesome. Amanda has a dance background. She may be interested. Cool. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I am a recruiter by profession, so I'll just tell you about one today. I'm working with a local tech company looking for software developers as well, kind of about 2 to 10 years experience in C#. And then I'm always just, there's other things here and there. So with that, we can wrap up for today. We will be back here the 3rd Tuesday of September. We're meeting September, October, and November, but not December, okay? So we'll be here the 3rd Tuesday of September. And we do have our speakers lined up. I don't know them off the top of my head, but just stay tuned to a number of newsletters. I know that if you're not signed up for the CBIC newsletter, it is, I mean, I'm sure that the other organizations have a good one too, but CBIC just really highlights everything. There's so many great, organizations and opportunities to just get plugged into the entrepreneurial ecosystem. So I do recommend signing up for that one. And then also on LinkedIn, I'll post the speakers and it can be shared, liked, all that kind of stuff. So you guys are welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn. And with that, we thank you for coming out this Tuesday, and next month, bring your friends and come back yourself, and have a great rest of your month. And there's more coffee, we're here till 10. One more thing I'm gonna say is that Kendra is in the back, do you wanna wave? If you would like a tour of the Code building, we're very grateful that Code provides this space for us. They are a co-working space, and you are welcome to go get a tour from Kendra, just meet her in the back and she'll walk you around. Okay, thank you.